Hey everybody, Bryan here over at Foster Park on the south side of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Thought I'd take a little bit of a bike ride today instead of doing a regular walk and talk as I normally do. Decided to try it on my bike. Right now I have one hand on the handlebars and one on the phone. We'll see how that works, so you can try it for other places as well. Hopefully today is going to be a little less windy than last time. I know last weekend it was just a mess. I didn't bother to listen to the other video. I just let it go, presuming everything was okay. So I'm back here again, trying something different. It rained a lot this morning. I was afraid we're going to have a rain out for the entire day, but we're actually pretty good right now, at least. I think there's another storm coming later on today, but I should be done by then. So right now, here at Foster, I'm heading south towards what used to be an old shopping mall. Here in Fort Wayne, we had two major malls. We had Glenbrook, and then way back long ago, we had what was called Southtown Mall. It's a mall that I used to live by when I was younger. So this trip for me is a very nostalgic trip. A lot of great memories, coupled with some pretty nasty ones as well. But the good will almost always trump over the bad when it concerns matters of memory and nostalgia. So today what I'd like to talk a little bit about is something I've been dealing with pretty much from the beginning of my time in education, particularly at the elementary level, since this is an elementary issue, and that's recess. Yes, every child's favorite part of the day. In my personal view, recess is a necessary part of a child's day, of their routine, of their social growth, and really it's their break time. It's baked into the process and the schedule, and that's that. However, what I've been discovering over the years is that some teachers seem to find it necessary to take that as their own personal time. In other words, if a student has chosen not to do their work, they will say to that student, well, since you didn't finish this worksheet, you're going to have to stay in for recess. And of course, the kid has no choice but to comply. I've never liked that. In my personal view, that is their time. That is not for the teachers to rip away from them. It is not for anyone to take their hands and reach into the kid's personal time and rip it away as if it's their own. That's not how it works. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. And I wish I had done a little extra research on this, but I feel in the past few years I've come across studies and certain academic write-ups, you might say, journals, peer-reviewed journals and such, that have stated that recess is a necessity. It's not just a free-for-all for anybody to manipulate or to take away. It's the kids, it's their time, and I fully agree. Because if you think about it, if we're going to say that recess acts as a way to help develop social skills, a way for students to unwind after a daunting morning, who are we to take that away from them? Who are we as educators, as school staff, to really take that away from the student? I say we don't. In fact, I thought about this for a long time, and I can think of two situations that may warrant removing a child from recess that could be evidentially explained away and justified. The first one is cases of severe discipline, meaning this child is playing basketball and they got into an altercation that they couldn't talk their way out of or walk away from. Fists were thrown, damage was done, a big dust-up occurs. Yes, you should be able to take that student and request that they are removed from the playground for the remainder of that day. Totally get it. Because they have shown themselves to be a threat to themselves and others. Totally get it. The other one is a voluntary removal, meaning if the student decides, you know what, teacher number 3 is really getting on my nerves about me getting my work done. My best friend is not here today, so I'm going to go ahead and just say, hey, can I work on this during recess? The teacher will likely be very happy to hear that and will allow that student to... Sorry, I'm pausing because it's a car here. To get away and do that work on their own during recess. Fine. I've seen that happen before. Kids will go to the lunchroom with little clipboards and their worksheets and stuff. And they'll actually work on that stuff during lunch because they don't want to have to do it during recess. So if you voluntarily choose to not take part in recess, fine. I still think they need to. However, voluntary choice trumps this idea of just ripping it away, because I find it to be severely unfair. There may be more reasons outside of these anomalies, such as, oh, Timmy, your mom called and she is coming in with your medication. She'll be here in about 2 minutes. Okay, the kid leaves and does that. Okay. But by and large, leveraging recess against unfinished work or poor behavior in the classroom, I do not agree with. It's not the teacher's time to be manipulating. It's totally within the realm of the kid. Now, if there's a competing view, one that sheds a little more light on this, that might support the idea of taking away recess as a disciplinary measure, I would love to hear it. Let me know. I just want the most accurate viewpoint that I can have. Now, something that kind of goes in tandem with this, with the idea of teachers reaching into a student's personal time, is that of public announcement of failures. This is a little tougher for me because I understand where it comes from a structural standpoint. But from a personal standpoint, I don't think it's proper. Let me explain. Excuse me. I think I got a bug in my mouth. So there's a teacher whom I work with. I work with 3 main teachers. They're all 5th grade. And one kindergarten teacher, but I only see her for a short period of time, and it's not working directly with her. It's merely a case of running a station. I think I've mentioned this before. But by and large, 3 main teachers, all 5th grade. They're all great. I'm fond of every one of them. However, one of them puts out a lot of work. Now, there's a lot of time to get it done, at least if you look at it from a macro view. These kids should be able to get this stuff done. But she puts out a lot of work, and some of these kids in my particular group have trouble getting things done. They have not developed that sort of what I would call maybe like a killer instinct. I'm gonna get this done. There's a challenge in front of me. I'm gonna get it done right away. I'm gonna do my best and finish my work as expected. A lot of these kids don't have that. They don't possess that. Some of them have a pure ambivalence towards their work. They do it because they're told to, or just because they want to avoid getting in trouble. And some of them have issues that may become obstacles for them and their effort, and they become complacent, and they forget. They lose their paperwork. They misplace their folder at home. Things like that. So it sets them back. Scheduling. Now, this particular teacher, what she does is this. As worksheets go out, as assignments go out, she keeps track of them on the whiteboard in plain view for everybody to see. For example, let's say in a reading workbook, section 5.1 became a worksheet. So therefore, this is assigned to the students and they're expected to get this finished. Well, if you don't get it finished by the due time, your name gets put on the board under that particular heading. Okay, 5.1, Timmy and Sally. They did not get it done, so their name goes on the board. So over time, as these assignments accumulate, they get put on the board. I'm scratching my nose right now. Their names get on the board, and these assignments start to gather on the board. Well, over time, you get to see familiar names. Timmy's on there like 3 times, Sally's on there 4 times, and Susie is on there twice. So even though they have work that is unfinished, the wheels of progress keep turning, new assignments come out, and those kids that never got the original stuff done tend to fall behind even further. That's where I come in to help out. I keep them on track. I encourage them to do their work. It's the standard fare for the classroom. What the issue in my mind is this. If you are being broadcast as a lazy student, if you're being broadcast as someone who cannot get your work done, that has a negative connotation on your day. In a psychological sense, it makes you feel like you're just not worthy because you have friends and their names aren't on the board. Yours is. Now, to a properly thinking person, you would say, well, geez, if I'm not getting this done, I should probably do my work and then get my name off the board. Makes sense. It really does. But remember, we're talking about 10 and 11-year-olds here. They haven't quite fully reached the age of reason where they can say that with good confidence. There are other confounding factors in their mind. And as I figured out, no matter how good a student wants to be, it takes one bad day with mom or dad or whomever running the show at home to take a normal day and turn it into utter garbage. We've had to deal with that a lot this year. But over time, as you watch this board just accumulate with names, sometimes 10 to 15 kids under the same section, they're just not doing their work. That weighs heavily. And I do feel bad for them, which is why, when they get their work, they get their assignment, I talk to them and say, hey, how you doing? You need help with this? You have any problems? If hands go up, I'm right there. I try my best to keep watch and respond the best I possibly can within reason. I need to scratch my face here and move my arm. All right. But there are certain students that just really struggle with this. And that struggle is real. But if you throw on top of that the idea that their personal issues are being broadcast to everybody, that becomes a bigger problem. And I don't know how we as educators, as staff members, can justify doing that to a student. I just find that to be rather crappy. But what do you think? Is this something that should be broadcast? Should every student know that other students are not doing their work? Because if it's really about the individual, if that's really the case, then we should be able to tackle these problems on an individual basis. The kids should be able to look and see where their assignments are missing. They should be able to check this on their own, not have to wander into the room to start their day to check to see if they need to be in for recess. That's where these two ideas link. One, the idea that teachers can take away recess from students for unfinished work. And two, that which is not finished is broadcast to everybody. I don't see this as being proper. I'm going to hold on to the handlebars here and probably reduce my speech a bit because I'm in an area where there's a lot of bugs. And I know what's going to happen. I'm going to say something, I'm going to swallow a bug, and that's going to suck really bad. So try to enjoy the sights while I get through this. one obstacle out of the way. It always floods out down here. Whenever we have significant rainfall, this area just floods out and becomes a muddy mess. You can kind of see it. If you're paying attention to this closely, you can probably see where things get very muddy, like right here. And then right up here, this floods out terribly. I'm gonna slow down. Get both hands on the handlebars here. There we go. Okay, and we have one more up here, and we should be in the clear. Ugh. I can hear the snap of the mud under the tires. Probably getting on my back right now. So I think I'm good for a while. I'm gonna say a little something about this location here. And this is really special for me. This path breaks off into two directions. Up top there is Fairfield Avenue, which is crossed over where that car is by Lower Huntington Road. If I go up there and I swing around back here, there's a few restaurants over here. There's a Mexican restaurant, which I have not been to since probably 1985. A Dairy Queen, which is where I get my little blizzards. And then you can't see it from here, but I'm pointing in the direction of a building that is now empty. That used to be one of my favorite restaurants of all time. It's called Penguin Point. It's a very small diner sort of place. Think of simple burgers, famous tenderloin. If you like tenderloin sandwiches, that's where you would go to get that. I'm gonna roll up here a little closer, see if I can spot it. Can't really see it from here because of the overgrowth, but that was a very special restaurant for me. I used to go there as a child with my parents. Real simple food, but really good. Simple burgers, the crinkle cut fries. If you like the old diner milkshake, they had that. I just loved it. Well, about 3 years ago or so, just out of nowhere, they decided to close. There was no real heads up for that. They said enough is enough, we're done. The problem was when COVID had hit, it reduced their lobby time to pretty much zero. I always ate inside. They had little park benches and tables and stuff underneath, but I didn't do that very often. I would always sit in the lobby. They would have a TV in there sometimes. Really, I just like what I'll call the ambiance or the environment, because it just felt like home. So COVID ruined things. You could go there for the drive-through. If you wanted to sit outside, you could, but you could not dine in the lobby anymore. And I would take my bike rides. I would always go there for lunch. $6.06. I could get a burger, some fries, and a bottle of water. I'd get every single time. I never got anything different than that. I think in my entire time going to that restaurant, I never got anything different than those three items. But they had closed. They had a big auction to sell off pretty much all their assets, all the affinities, the accoutrement. And I had bid on a number of things. I never won them, but I will always still have those memories, and that's part of the nostalgic sort of attraction that I have for this ride. And there are other ways for me to go too. If I go up there, I can take a different route to get where I'm going. It's a little more harrowing. It's on the road. I prefer the trail here. What I'm getting into now is Waynedale. This is a kind of an edge of that community. If I go down Lower Huntington up there, close to where Penguin Point and Dairy Queen are, I'd be going right into Waynedale. I'm kind of on the cusp. But this is the southern corridor of Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's Calhoun Street cutting over. That goes right through downtown. There's another little attraction here from my younger days I want to bring up. If you look over there, I'd zoom in a little bit if I could. There's a sign over there that says Atz's Ice Cream. There was a little ice cream shop over there I used to go to as a very young kid. Again, parents would go there. And I've thought about this for a long time, and I don't know why I did this. There was one sort of ice cream I would get every single time. It was bubble gum. I loved that bubblegum ice cream that they served, and they did it out of the dip station, just like the old ice cream places used to do. And what I would do is I would eat the ice cream, and then whenever I got into the bubblegum, which was like hard as rocks, I would spit it out onto a napkin. I wouldn't even eat it or chew it. And my parents were like, why do you get this if you don't chew the bubblegum? I don't know. I just like the flavor of this ice cream, and it was really good. It was like a collection of different fruity sort of flavors all in one little bite. It was just good. Now, I no longer get that sort of ice cream when I go to ice cream shops. I adore chocolate. Anything with chocolate, I just love it. So if there's chocolate with like brownie pieces or cookie pieces or some sort of fudge, there's nothing better for me. I love chocolate. I don't do a lot of ice cream shops now. I'm trying to cut back on that sort of thing as much as I possibly can, within reason. I mean, we're not perfect. We should be able to enjoy things from time to time. We don't need to cut everything out. It's about management and not condemning things to, never to be experienced again. If we're being fair to ourselves. I'm going to talk a little more about this in a second. I want to see if I can get around this guy. He's like right in front of me. Might have to go through the grass to cut in front of him. So brace for impact here. It's going to get a little shaky here. There we go. All right. Yeah, there's an ice cream place near where I live, and they serve a flavor I had not seen, good gracious, since I was probably a teenager. I'm late 40s right now. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. Heavenly Hash. Heavenly Hash. Does that sound familiar to you as a flavor, an ice cream flavor? It's like chocolate ice cream, has marshmallows in it. Then I think it's like pretzel pieces. I think that's what it is. I don't remember for sure, but I got it. Oh, I don't know if you saw that, but there was a cop that went by. No sirens, blazing down the road. If that were you or I, we'd be pulled over. But the officer gets to do it. All right. Anyways, I got Heavenly Hash, and he's like, man, this is good. Next time I go to this place, I'm going to get it again so I can confirm what's in it. I'm pretty sure it's marshmallow and pretzel pieces, like chocolate-covered pretzel pieces. So this area is pretty neat. This is also the southern corridor, as I mentioned. There was a drive-in theater located in this area. It's called Hillcrest, I believe. There's also a school named that. So this little area was like the Hillcrest spot, more or less. But the drive-in was really cool. It had a big sign that we had kept for a long time, and I think it's still over there. Yep, it's still in front of that building. But what was cool was, if you didn't go to the drive-in, you could still go to the mall and sit on your car and see it. Now, granted, it was tiny and you couldn't hear it, but you could be in the Sears parking lot and still watch this movie from a distance. You could tell what it was, because it was clear enough to be able to tell. You just couldn't hear it or have a very good view of it for watching's sake. But I just found that tickled me that I could see it from a distance like that. This is an old ball diamond. It's been here for a long time. There's 3 of them here. Usually there's people playing, but I think today has been a little bit of a rain out. So I'll talk a little more as I get to another feature of this area. I'll bring up something else going on in school right now. We have 3 days remaining. 3 full days of school, and then there's a teacher PL day. I'm not doing that. I'm not important enough. I'm just classified staff. The next 3 days are going to be just a hectic, wild, chaotic mess. Day 1 is field day. Day 2 is talent show. Day 3 is graduation ceremony. The kids are going wild. They're already checking out, as you might imagine. And I'm feeling a little down. I've said this a few times. I've really liked this experience this year. The kids have been wonderful. And they always are, I mean, being real. But I think this group has been really special for me. I think there have been a lot of good connections made. It just really worked. It's a good chemistry, put it that way. I'm crossing over this road to get back on the trail here. This goes right into the back end of the old mall, the old Southtown Mall. Oh, quite different now. They got rid of that mall. I think it was in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. I was still living out this area till 2002, January of 2002, and I believe the mall was gone at that point, or the structure was still there, but they were in the process of selling it to an investor and tearing it down, turning it into whatever else. So yeah, this would have been, and this trail wasn't here at that time, but this would be going into the back end of that mall. There's a bus up there for some reason. The building you're about to see after I cross this bridge is a public safety place. So a lot of officers hang around here and do their stuff. This trail goes around the place. And before long, we'll be getting to another little feature of this area that I find really cute, and hope you do too. So yes, back to school. It's been a great year. I'm gonna miss these kids terribly. This past Monday, the 5th graders visited their future school. And it's always I'll pause a bit so I can get away from the noise. So it's always fun to do that with the kids. This is or it has been really fun to do this with the kids. Last year, I'm kind of scratching my nose. So I've got a bug or something on it. Last year, I did this with the kids too, and it was a great experience. I think it's short. I think they could expand on their day a little bit, but it's still good. What the kids do, they get in the school and they all corral themselves in the cafeteria, and then the 6th grade ambassadors will come out and greet them, and the kids will get broken up into groups, and the ambassadors will take them to different classrooms. They spend some time there just kind of getting to see how things run, and then they walk the halls. They get familiarized with the school a little bit. The kids don't really get familiar. The ambassadors don't really do a great job of keeping the kids in line. This kind of, okay, this is social studies room, this is science room, they don't treat it like an actual tour. And they're kids, I get it. But if you're going to be an ambassador, step up your game. How about that? I'm going to pause for a second. I want to talk about this. And I just noticed I have a bug on my glasses. I wear glasses here. get this off. So this is our safety village. This is where the little kids go to learn about, road and sidewalk safety. They get in little tiny cars and they drive around. It's really, really cute. I love it. If you are, I think, first grade, where you get to get in the little tiny cars, and that's fun. And you get to see what happens when a train comes, the lights and everything. It's funny. They've got the train track here, but they don't have the little arm that comes down. It seems like you would have to put that there as a reference for this, because that's what you would see. You wouldn't see just a train go by without the arm. And they got the McDonald's over there. A little tiny Pizza Hut is so cute. It's so awesome, and I love it. I just noticed my handlebars coming off here. Good gracious. This bike is really old. My seat is turning around too. Man, everything's falling apart right now. What's that little yellow building? Is that what I think it is? Yeah. Yeah, so back there's a blue building. That is the fire safety building, where you go in there and you learn about fire safety, like what happens if your house catches on fire, what do you do, how do you escape, what do you look out for, where do you put your hands, where do you keep your body relative to the smoke in the room, things like that. It's really interactive. In fact, it's cool because, and this is for third graders, you get sent up to a room in a bedroom. It looks just like any regular bedroom, and all of a sudden you hear the fire alarm go off, and then smoke fills the hallways and it goes in under your door, and then you have to go over the door and touch the handle. If it's hot, you have to get down and then go to the window, and you leave through the window. In the other rooms, what you do is, if the handle is cold, you can open the door and you go down the steps like backwards on your belly, because the idea is smoke rises, so you want to be where the oxygen is. It's dark in there, lights are going off, it's smoky, you have to maneuver your way out the front door. It's really, really cool. And those who get to go out the window do the ladder. You have to set up your ladder at the window, and there's someone there to help you, of course, and someone at the bottom to catch you in case you fall, which no one falls. It's a really good process. It's educational and entertaining at the same time, which is a great combo, if you ask me. Here they're doing some work on looks like one of the buildings connected to the city building. I want to pause over here at this work they're doing, because I have a story that you're going to find probably comedic but sad at the same time. So when the kids are done learning about fire and driving around and stuff and wandering the city, the teachers will bring them over here to just play. So this is a playground area. You can see the mud and all the stuff torn up and everything. What used to be here was an extension of the playground, and there was a little house, a little wooden house, it's all painted up, looked really cute, that the kids could go in and play house during this little break. So I was here one year with the third grade group, and the teacher and I just let the kids go over there and play or whatever. All of a sudden we hear a scream, and we look over at this house, and a few kids and this girl walk out real slowly, and she's in pain. And we go, what's the problem? Well, I'm just going to call her Sally. Well, Sally stepped on a nail. I'm like, what? One of the boards inside the building had fallen over from the wall. It fell over and exposed all these nails, like a nail trap in this little building, and she had stepped on one. And we took her shoe off, and it went right through her shoe, right through her sock, and right into her foot, because her foot was bleeding. And I looked at that teacher and go, this is a safety village, and I tried to be careful with my words, and I said, this junk is going on here. Who's watching out for them? I mean, who's really managing this? That was ridiculous. So we complained, and they eventually got rid of that house altogether, and now we're at a situation where they're just redoing the entire thing. that was, it was ironic that someone got hurt in a safety village because something wasn't safe. Thankfully, the girl was okay. She had to get a tetanus shot, of course, because of the nail. She actually took it pretty well. She was in pain. She didn't cry or anything. She's like, ah. So I wonder if she remembers that. I've not seen her in, good gracious, probably 8, 9 years at this point. So safety village, survive a live house, saving lives before the fire. Yeah. But our structures will fall down at any point, so be careful. I laugh at the memory, not the event per se. So yeah, safety village. This wasn't always here. This used to be downtown in a very inconvenient place. So I'm glad they moved it to a more distant, remote location. Easier for buses to get in and out, and it's just a little nicer out here, I think. I've always been fond of the south side of town. It wasn't always the case for everybody, I should say, because this area of town is notorious for maintaining a bad rap. And the idea that there's crime out here all the time, the idea that, you know, it's not safe, no one wants to live here, and I really challenge that. I lived here from, at least in this area, because what you're, might be hard to see here, but if you look over there, there's a building, kind of a tannish looking building beyond the car line there. That used to be a Kmart, and there was a beverage store next to it. They were long gone. They were removed a long time ago. But that road that they sit on, it goes south. To my right is south, and that's a highway. That's US 27. That takes you south into like Decatur and different areas like that. I lived in this area from 85 till 2002-ish. I never had one problem in this area. None at all. No crime, nothing. I lived on the highway. There's a pair, or actually 3 trailer courts that were close together in proximity within, you know, simple walk between them. I lived in one of them, the closest one to this spot here, and a number of my friends lived across the highway, and a couple of them lived in the other trailer court kind of down the highway past the overpass. I spent all that time here, never had a problem, neither did my parents. It was simple. Now, it was quite a drive to get to wherever you wanted to go. I get that, but from a safety standpoint, we didn't have any problems. Now, that may not have been the case for everybody. I understand that. But I always took a bit of offense when people would say, oh, you lived out south? I mean, I bet there were problems out there. Like, no. In fact, you know, my wife, you know, bless her heart, she had that view too, because she was raised in, you know, the sticks out in the country somewhere. And she always heard, because of her dad, so paranoid about Fort Wayne, that the south side of town was just terrible. Oh, all these things going on, crime and burglary and violence and people getting shot and murdered and all this thing. No, not to that degree. Yeah, it exists everywhere, unfortunately. That's the problem with crime. But that stain is not really here. Not really. What we get is just a lot of bad mojo, you might say. So when I got, when I met my wife and we started dating and all that stuff, it was a very quick turnaround. I met her, started dating, eventually proposed, and and got married within, you know, the blink of an eye, basically. We moved out north to an apartment complex, and I thought things were going to be okay, because I always heard the north side of town was just that much better than the south. But I had my car broken into, my old, you know, first generation iPod, the brick, if you remember that gray brick that the iPod used to be. that was stolen from my car. Someone tried to rip out my stereo system, which was just a little CD player, and someone tried to take that thing. A neighbor had, let's put it this way, unlived themselves in a nasty way, just a few units down from us. A neighbor who lived above us left their dog out on the porch all day while they were at work, and that dog had to use the potty, and you can imagine where that little dog's potty went. If they're on the top, it's got to go to the bottom, and that's where our patio was. Dog pee all over the place, and a little bit of poo, and a bunch of shenanigans by the landlord and that particular tenant. They tried to clean everything up so we wouldn't sue or anything like that. It was junk. The area was terrible, and it was entirely different than what I experienced here around my old home. Now, what I'm going to do here, I thought I'd go back down and get off the road, but I think I'm going to ride through here a bit. I think I'm going to stop at that Starbucks. I'm not going to film for that, but usually what I do, there's a Walmart over here. The end of my ride, and really what you see here is what the mall used to be. Now it's a Menards, now it's a Walmart, now it's a bunch of very typical stuff you see everywhere. But the mall was special. I miss it dearly. A lot of formative time was spent there in my social growth. Because I used to live on the highway, I was pretty close to the mall. I could ride my bike there pretty much whenever I wanted to. I skipped school once. Yeah, I skipped school because Mortal Kombat 2 came out in the arcades and they had a cabinet for it. So I did some sneaky things and I did not go to school that day, and I got my bike and rode all the way to the mall to play Mortal Kombat. Nobody noticed. Nobody knew. Now you know. But I was a good kid. I was very sharp. I was just really bored. And when you have a sharp kid that has, a lot of time and is curious about stuff, they're going to do some weird things. It doesn't mean they're going to do that for the rest of their life. I live in the straight and narrow. But it was interesting for me because could I get away with it? That was the challenge. Could I do it successfully and no one noticed? Yes. Because that was a time before you had to call in to say that your son or daughter was not going to be at school. Like if they didn't show up, they didn't call home. They said, "Oh, you're absent," because they left it up to the parents to manage that stuff. Well, my mom didn't know. My dad was always at work, so I thought, well, hey, if I can get away with it, I'll do it, and I did. It was a good day. I had a lot of fun, and my friends were jealous. So, man, you could do that? Yeah, I did it. There's the Starbucks. Over here's the Menards. Wow, big deal. And over there is the Walmart. I'm going to stop at Walmart too, but I got a gift card at school from some really cool people I work with. So I'm going to stop in here and get something. Thanks for riding around with me today. I might try to get out tomorrow, but we have a thing going on with my wife's aunt. She's turning 90 years old. And here's a quick story for you. It was supposed to be a themed birthday. It was going to be kind of a sock hop. I may have brought this up before. I don't remember. But I decided I was going to sing a song. I was going to do one of the songs from that period I thought was really pretty. And they changed it. Now it's going to be a garden party. And now I'm not too terribly interested in going. But I'm going to go anyways, because if I don't, where's Bryan? Where's Bryan at? No, I don't want my wife to have to put up with that. So I'm going to go. I'm going to suck it up and try to have a good time with it. So if you don't hear from me for a little while, that's what's going on. So wish me luck for tomorrow. Have a good remainder of your day. Stay safe, stay dry. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.